on to our main topic. Has anyone integrated with an eSignature platform before? Alrighty, so I'm going to hand things off to Andrew at this point.
Great. Okay. So I've just got a few slides, and then I'm going to jump into some demos, and then I'll happy to take any questions after that. So yeah, I'm here to talk about our fmESignatureLink DocuSign Edition solution. It's a FileMaker solution that we've developed for obviously integrating with the DocuSign platform. Just a quick bit about myself. I'm the owner CEO at a company called DataBuzz, based down under here in Sydney, Australia. I've been developing in FileMaker for since around about 1992. So for those of you doing the maths, that's about 30 years, which makes me feel pretty old at this point. DataBuzz is a Claris partner, a DocuSign partner. We're also a Shopify partner and a Xero partner. And I'm a FileMaker certified developer. And I've had a long-standing interest in integration, and that's over time has led me to develop a number of off-the-shelf solutions for integrating FileMaker with a number of other platforms. And many of those have grown out of solutions we've developed internally for our business first. So our sort of motto is we're FileMaker integration experts, and that's the focus of our business these days. We've got a number of FileMaker solutions to help you get started with integrating with some of the more popular platforms in the accounting, e-commerce, document signing, and SMS, MMS messaging spaces. And our solutions are essentially all about saving customers time and money by automating repetitive manual tasks and eliminating things like double data entry. As a developer, you can also save time learning the ins and outs of an API and reading all the documentation and working it out for yourself, and you can use our solutions to fast track your integration for you or your customers. So a bit about DocuSign. You've probably all heard of DocuSign. They've been going for 20 years this year, and they've more or less pioneered the development of e-signature technology. They're probably the world's #1 way to sign electronically, and their tagline is sign in from any device, from anywhere, at any time. We've worked with many customers over the years to convert from a sort of paper-based process where they would print, sign, pack, and send, and wait for them to be signed and received and then scanned, into a fully automated electronic e-signature process. DocuSign has a very sort of rich and complex API, which we can connect with the FileMaker platform too, and that enables us to do things like automate and implement custom workflows. And today, DocuSign's got over 1 million customers with 1 billion users in over 180 countries are using DocuSign every year to send out their agreements. So why e-signature, you may ask? So there's many agreements that there's many businesses that run on agreements, and these could be contracts with customers and suppliers, non-disclosure agreements, onboarding HR documents. It's very rare that you'd find business that doesn't have at least one agreement that needs to be signed by staff, customers, or suppliers. With the recent COVID-19 pandemic and the move to remote working and social distancing, that obviously made in-person signing quite challenging. With eSignature, you can automate workflows to accelerate agreement turnaround time, and DocuSign have found that you can go from days with paper-based process down to minutes, essentially. 82% of DocuSign agreements are completed in under 1 day, and just under half are completed in less than 15 minutes. So that's obviously a much faster process than the equivalent paper-based version. And that translates to a $36 average saving per document compared to the equivalent paper-based process. So we've been integrating DocuSign for like 5, 6, 7 years now. And some of the examples of businesses that we've worked with to automate and implement eSignature include property management firms that send tenancy agreements to landlords and tenants. So they might need to send it in a particular order, say to the landlord first and then to each of the tenants. Pool service companies have been quite a popular one. typically sending out proposals to potential customers to sign up for their services after going on site and using FileMaker Go on an iPad to generate a proposal for them. Obviously, healthcare organisations during COVID was a popular one, getting things like privacy consent forms signed by patients. Servicing firms is another popular one where they've got annual agreements that they have to get renewed once a year, and often those agreements need to request a payment for the upcoming year. Law firms, obviously another big one, they generate thousands of legal documents, such as case agreements that need to be sent and signed by each of the relevant parties in a case. And one that we're working on this week at the moment is a car dealership in the US that's selling cars, and they need to get the buyer to sign and pay the initial deposit and use ID verification to confirm that they are who they say they are with their driver's license. So just some of the high-level features of our fmESignatureLink solution before I jump into the demos. So the main feature is obviously allowing you to send document signing requests from the Claris FileMaker Platform, and that generally involves a PDF that you generate and submit to DocuSign, and that PDF can come from a number of sources. It could be a PDF that your FileMaker script generates from a layout or one or more layouts by appending multiple PDFs together. It could be a PDF that you've stored in a container field that's static, that never changes, or a PDF that uses form fields, or a DocuSign template where you set up the document within the DocuSign website and use that instead of uploading a PDF. And once you've successfully sent out the document signing request, you obviously want to be able to check the status. If it went to multiple recipients, you might want to check the status of each individual recipient. And once it's been completed, you'd like to download the signed version of that PDF and store that, and any form data that the users had to enter along the way. Some of the optional features of DocuSign that we support include payments, getting the signer to make a payment at the end of the signing ceremony, ID verification that I mentioned earlier, SMS notifications, and recipient access codes, which add an additional level of security to your document signing request. We also support webhooks. So we supply a PHP file that works with the FileMaker Server Data API to have the completed DocuSign PDF pushed automatically to your FileMaker server. And we also support using Claris Connect to do the same thing. So as I mentioned earlier, this is all about eliminating manual steps, double data entry in both FileMaker and DocuSign, which translates to saving you or your customers time and money. We've got a number of different licenses: a company vertical solution or product license, and an unlimited developer license. And you can request a trial version via our website. Just a quick word on when it comes to integration. So there's two main methods that we see our customers use. There's the linking, where you essentially link our file to your existing FileMaker sort of custom business app. And that's the quickest way to get up and running. You can write some simple scripts in both files to push and pull data between them, and you can be up and running in sort of a couple of hours typically. Embedding is the more complex and time-consuming method, where you recreate the required functionality you need in your existing solution, using our solution as a sort of a learning tool, and you can copy and paste lots of the code and then map fields. And we've got some guides on our website that walk you through the steps involved that you typically take, and some videos for each of those as well. So let's get into some demos. Okay, so here's our fmESignature solution. It's hosted on a FileMaker server down here. Just run you through some of the main screens. So we've got a setup configuration screen where you put in your DocuSign credentials. We support running in both the sandbox, which is the free developer test account, where you can send an unlimited number of requests, and then you go live and you push it to a DocuSign production account. And so you need to authenticate each of those. I've already done that, but that just involves clicking a button and logging into a web viewer with your DocuSign account and approving the connection, and you can toggle which environment that you're currently running with down here. We've just got a simple contacts table, very basic, name, email address are the main requirements you need to send a document signing request. And if you're going to be using some of the optional features like SMS notifications, then you can store the mobile number and the country as well. Templates, this is where you set up a record for each of the agreements that you're going to send, and I'm going to be demonstrating some examples of that. For each of the templates, you tell it what type of template it is the PDF coming from the FileMaker layout? Are you using a DocuSign template, or is it stored in a FileMaker container field? You give it a description, and you can specify an email body and a subject, put in a URL to the webhook if you're going to be using our PHP file. And over on the right is where you set up the tabs, and these are like FileMaker fields on a layout. They indicate where you want a signer to perform a particular action. So that could be someone signing a particular spot, or it could be initializing, or you might want the date sign to appear, and so on. Template roles work with DocuSign templates, so we'll talk a bit more about that later. And then we've got the request. So let's go through and we'll create a new request. So we'll just go new record, and this is where we connect it to a template and one or more recipients. So we're going to choose the template that we're going to use. So I'm going to use the customer agreement standard, and that's a simple PDF that's coming, a one-page PDF that's coming from a FileMaker layout. If I jump into layout mode, I can show you that layout that we're going to use. So here's the layout that we're going to use. Just a one-page PDF. It's got some merge fields at the top, and I've just got the section down the bottom for specifying where I want the DocuSign tabs to appear. And I'll just get back out of that. And I'll just, one thing I've got to mention, sorry, for this example, I've specified the coordinates, the left and top pixel positions where I want those tabs to appear. That's how we started out initially. There's actually a much better way that I'll demonstrate as well, using autoplace or anchor text, where you put some hidden strings on the layout, so you don't have to worry about where these might appear, because you might have a multi-page or variable length document where you might not know where, on which page these tabs need to appear. But for a simple one-page document where everything's fixed, this works out just fine. So let's go back to our request. I'm going to go and add a recipient. This is just a single person, a single signer document. So I'll add one recipient, and I think I've got everything I need. So I'm going to go and click send and send that request off. And that's created a PDF, and it's uploaded it to the DocuSign API and told it to send it to that recipient. So I'm going to get an email right about now, and you can see that's just come in. There it is there. And I'm going to review the documents. I'm just going to open this up in my browser. So this is what the signer sees. And we'll click continue. And here's my eSignature document to sign. So it's that's the PDF that's been uploaded from my FileMaker layout. I'm in the sandbox mode, so I get these red texts at the top. And it's pre-populated my signer's name and my signer's company, and that value has come from a FileMaker field that I've just put in the field reference for. So you can merge data with your request as well. And I'm just going to sign it and initial it, and we'll click finish. And that's going to save that in the DocuSign environment. And that's all done. So let's close out of that. And we'll go back to FileMaker. So that's been signed. So at this point, I can, I've just got an email then just confirming that it's been signed by all parties. And if you keep an eye on this container field down here, this is where my webhook is going to kick in, and it's going to automatically push that completed PDF into that container field, which you can see has just happened then. If I just preview that, you can see there's the DocuSign request that I've just signed. And you can also get what they call the audit trail certificate. So if I just tick that box and download that again, I'm going to get the combined PDF with the audit trail. So if we just have a preview of that, we'll get another page or two on the end, and that's got all the IP addresses and timestamps of when the various actions took place. And this is their certificate of completion, their legal document that says who signed this and when it was signed and so on. So I can also check manually the status of that request. It's been completed. I can check the status of each of the individual recipients. In this case, there's only one. I obviously know it's been completed. I can also manually download those audit events that we're just looking at on that certificate of completion and get those into FileMaker if I need those. And any form data. So if this form required users to fill in some fields on the DocuSign website, we could download that as well. In this case, there was no new additional form data to download. So that's a basic request. I'm going to go back to my templates, and we're going to do another version of that, and that's the order place agreement with payments. Now this one has a few additional tabs. It's got a number tab and a formula tab, and they represent a request for payment. So I've set up a Stripe account with my DocuSign account, and I'm going to have a membership renewal. I'll just change that to 2023. It's a fixed amount. It's going to be in US dollars. And let's go and have a look at that layout. So I'll just show you how this one works, because this one's a bit different. This one here, you can see single page PDF once again. I've got a space for the amount due, but when I click here, you can see I've got some hidden objects on the layout. And if we change the color of those to red so we can see them, and I'll just zoom in a bit, you can see there's a hidden string, and these are those auto place or anchor strings I mentioned earlier, where you can put some invisible text and tell DocuSign when you see that invisible text, go and whack a tab there. So if this was on page 1 or page 7, it would just go and find it. So I'll just get out of that. I'll go back and I'll just show you what I've done in the template for this. So for the date signed, for example, I go to my order place settings, and there's that anchor string that I put in here. So I've told it to look for the anchor string / date signed 1 /, and if you find that, go and put a date signed DocuSign tab in that position. So we'll go and create a new request for this one. I'll add my recipient, single recipient once again, and we'll send that request off. And I've got to put in the payment amount actually. So good example of error trapping. So I'll just put in my invoice number, and we'll make this $595. And we'll send that off once again. And this time it should work. Okay, so that was successful. So I'll just go and tidy up my emails, and that should come through right now. There it is. So it's got my agreement and pay membership renewal. So let's go and open this in Google Chrome. Okay, so here's the PDF from FileMaker once again. This time you can see it's got the $595 that I put into FileMaker as the amount due. I'm going to sign that, and I'll click Finish. And now I get an additional prompt to process a payment as part of the document signing request. So the advantage of this is you don't have to send a document signing request and then send an invoice separately. You can all combine it into the one process. I'm just going to go and grab my test Stripe account number, or credit card number, and I'm just going to put that in, put in the expiry date, And I'll click pay and finish. I've made this request payment optional, but you can make it mandatory, so they have to pay and finish. Or they could send it without payment and send in the payment separately. So I'm going to pay and finish. Okay, so that's all been successful. Close that. And say no thanks. Okay, so that one's been signed. Just get rid of that. I've just got the email, so it's been completed. But if I was to come here, I can check the recipient status. I can see that's been completed. I'll get the webhook. We'll push that through automatically, which it's just done. And I'll just get the certificate for that one and re-download that again. And we'll have a look at that. And there's the PDF, and here's the certificate, and you can see it's got the payment events here. So it's got that it was paid, which IP address it was, and so on and so on. And if I was to download the form data, I'll get a bit more information this time. There we go, and I've got a payment receipt and the date signed and the payment amount and so on. So that's how you can combine a document signing request with a payment. The last example I want to show you is a DocuSign template, and this is where you don't create a PDF from a FileMaker layout. This is where you do everything in DocuSign, and I'll just log into my DocuSign account and bring that up. Okay, so I've logged into my DocuSign sandbox account here, and here I've gone to templates, and here's my templates. And each template has a template ID, and you can see it's 72B3. I've just copied and pasted that into this field in FileMaker, so it knows what the ID is, because that's how it's going to know which template to use in DocuSign. And if we have a look at this template, I'll show you how it's set up. It's a, I think my sessions just got logged out. Let me just log back in again. Okay, I'm just going to jump to my bookmark to that particular template. And here it is. So it's got two recipients. So we're not saying who it's going to. These are called roles. So we have two roles, a tenant and a landlord that need to sign. So let's go and that's the signing order that I've got set up as well. So let's go and have a look at this. So I originally created a PDF from FileMaker, as it turned out. And I've uploaded that to DocuSign, and I've added the DocuSign tabs here in the DocuSign editor. So you can see there's two signing sections down the bottom. One's in yellow and one's in blue, and that represents the different roles. The tenant is in yellow and the landlord is in blue. So I'm not going to upload this document or anything from FileMaker. I'm just going to reference this DocuSign ID, but I do need to tell it who's going to perform the two roles, the tenant and the landlord. So we'll just close that. So we come back in here and I'll go download template from DocuSign, and we'll get all the details about that template into FileMaker. We can see here's all the different tabs for the different roles. There's two roles, a tenant and a landlord. I think I've got everything I need, so I'm going to go and create a new request. And I need to add two recipients in this case. So we'll add Joe and we'll add Reese. And for each of these recipients, I need to say who's the tenant and who's the landlord. So we'll make Joe the tenant and Reese the landlord. You can add additional recipients and tick this CC box if you want to have someone get a carbon copy of the agreement at the end. They might not necessarily need to sign it, but you'd want to send them a copy when it's been completed. So let's send this request off. Okay, so that's been sent. So it's only going to go to Joe and not to Reese. It's going to go to Joe first, and then once Joe has signed it it'll go to Reese. So we'll go to our email, get rid of that. Here we go. We'll open this up in Google. Okay, so here's the agreement. And it knows that I'm the tenant, so I'm going to sign it. It's asking me to put in my name. And it's got the date signed. So a very simple agreement, obviously. And that's been saved and submitted. So that will now go, DocuSign will now go and send a notification to Reese to sign it. So if we click the recipient status, we can see that Joe's completed it and it's been sent to Reese. And once Reese has signed it and completed it, it'll be available to download the complete agreement, and I can then pull down all the form data. So if I do that now, I'll get details of the tenant details, and that's what was typed into that field by Joe on the website, for example. So a couple of other features I'll just mention. Yeah, when you send out requests, you can send an SMS notification, so they get an SMS on their phone and they can click the link and do it all on their phone if they wanted to. You can use access code verification, so I can make up a number, and that number has to be entered by the recipient when they get the agreement and sign in on the DocuSign website, and I would send that to them separately, so they have a separate sort of password protected method of accessing that request. And I can also enable ID verification. And if we look at a template, this is where you set up ID verification, and you can choose between two common methods: phone authentication, where they have to enter a code, like a two-factor code on their phone, and DocuSign ID verification, where you can sign up and recipients have to take a photo of their driver's license, the front and back, and upload that, and to confirm their identity as part of the sign-in request. So I think that's all I had for my demo. So I'll just maybe stop sharing my screen, and I'll go back to Zoom and see if anyone has any questions.